John Lindstrom back again with my friend Jim Keith from Prairie Bonsai Society, and we're going to get back to work on this juniper that we started, and we got some of the preliminary wiring done and the raffia applied because there's going to be some heavy bending, so we'll hope for the best and no breakage. And so yeah, basically I did a little bit of the cleanup work on the dead wood just to kind of get that separated so that the refinement can come later. But yeah, I was definitely creating a challenge to get into all of these tight spots and start the process. So it's still real rough. There's certainly nothing wrong with using even a little sandpaper when the time comes. But a lot of wire brushes, and then removed a lot of the punky stuff from up in here. This still may have some softer wood that needs to be addressed, and maybe even a little wood hardener, and or just removed entirely, except the fact that this tends to have a lot of character in it, but it's still just maybe too buried in the tree. So the plan today is to bring down the primary branches first. That'll be this side and that side, kind of set the foreground, and then work around to the back and lower the branches, try and get them wired as we move and try to get them placed as we move, which is a little bit contrary to what they used to do, or what used to be practiced, where all the branches get wired and then you do all the placement at the last moment. So nowadays it's more favored to do the branch placement as you wire each branch, and that way you know your limits as you graduate up towards the apex of the tree. So wish us luck, and we'll get started now. It's just a cut piece of irrigation hose. It's cut to a particular length that I've pre-used, but so then a slit, and this actually wraps around the branch pretty well, and will pad the wire, and that may be necessary for parts of the trunk later where the guy wire is against the trunk. This is going to stretch now because it's already got some bends in it, which is going to compromise the whole procedure a little bit, because wherever it's kinked. So I'm going to probably put another one over here. What I want to do is bring this branch in behind this chin and keep this intact, but try to make this as compact and bring this as down and through this area as possible. So we're close to achieving that at some risk, but the other option was to have it just glide over this and then down. But in this form we can compact this a lot more. And hopefully still utilize this thicker part of the trunk, because otherwise it might just be too long if it were coming out down this way. So hopefully we haven't compromised too much of the tree. The raffia is tight. We got a little crack in this split here. It's something that happens and that junipers can handle. So you know, you might see the difference in this here from where it was, and there's a bit of a split there. Not hard to see with the raffia, but the next thing to do would be to bring I'll bring this in maybe clean so it's not up against this gin, and then try to express this in this fashion over here and get this into a kind of a pad formation and keep it kind of tight that way. Create a little bit more dynamic movement with this branch in particular. So with that said, we'll probably let this branch rest a little bit before we try to like move this out. This may have to get guy wired to back here, so it's going to be a matter of bringing this back the other direction with the guy wire and maybe some more torquing with our baton, yeah. And then work on this area, and once we get this situated, we can have some room to bring that down and start to frame this deadwood intention that'll be coming out of the top. We'll shortly come back to this. Once we maybe get a couple more lower branches, we'll have access to them where we can start doing this wiring. So it's not quite where we're finishing one branch pad before we move on, but something close to that. So there's probably a little bit of excessive growth here, so I can trim back some of this. I think that I was considering bringing some of this around here. And I'm not sure that this rather is going to be what I want to use in this space, although it could be something like that. So we'll find out exactly how much foliage I work with as we get some of this detail wiring going. This may come around. I don't really like the idea of it coming backwards to creep around here, so I'm going to eliminate some of this so that way we can get some wire on this. We've got wire on here to put on here, a lot of detail wiring on here, and as this slowly gets comfortable in its position, we can maximize the movement and like try to get a final set position for this. I don't necessarily like the way this thickest branch, this all comes and is terminated so abruptly with this amount of smaller branches. So there's no taper in this branch. There's no stage between thick and thin. So it's something to consider visually in the end and in the long term. Whereas this, as it has some character here and can potentially be brought back down into this position, as it will, then this potentially could be the whole entire first branch over here, and just trying to see how much of this stuff is necessary and excessive, in which case I think that right off the bat I can probably eliminate this and kind of go with this. So I'm going to take this off and then maybe even consider a little bit more. So here, I'm going to take this off. Okay, that's not necessary. In this case, this can come around and help fill in this pad, and then this one too as well. So hopefully we'll get this in position and maybe hide this a little bit for now. So this may actually need an extra piece of wire. Well, we're running out of time a little bit today, but we got as far as we could, and I think we made a lot of progress. Obviously, we can see that a lot of the branch structure is set, and there's still a lot of detail wiring to take place. I really like the apex. I think that came together well. There was a lot of detail wiring done on this side of the tree, so I like the way this is turning out. This is a little bit busy for sure. There'll be some decisions that'll have to be made. I mentioned whether or not this branch would be capped and or not, if it's going to get brought down in tighter to the tree and the trunk line, and whether or not this largest branch is necessary at all. So there's still some heavy branching in the back that was manipulated, so if some back budding occurs and once the tree recovers, then it can do some editing and kind of lighten that a little bit. But for now, I'm really happy with it, and so we'll continue to work on it and get some of the detail wiring done, and then push the tree as much as we can to grow this season, and have you take a look at it then. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.